In today's episode, Jason asks, what are the precautionary steps if I need to change the title, description, artwork, and such for a podcast so I can avoid losing momentum and not break anything with the new version of the show? What are the implications for being discovered in podcast searches? So this is a good question. Podcast searches, particularly on services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., are very rudimentary. They function like SEO did like 15 years ago, where it really is all just very primitive keywords and things. There's none of the AI that you would expect from like a Google search that would detect intent and things. So specific terms, specific names, brands matter a lot. So treat this move that you're talking about like any other move, right? Treat it like a website move. Try not to change the domain name. Try not to change URLs if possible, because that adds a level of technical complexity that you do not want. Updating RSS feeds and things like that. If you can avoid changing the URL, then what you need to do is create a plan for a transition period. Maybe a month, maybe 2 months. It depends on the cadence of how fast you release your show. If your show is a daily show, you could probably make the move fully in about 2 weeks. Depending on, I guess, the easiest way to look is to look at how fast old shows stop getting downloads, other than like the onesie or twosie here and there. If your listenership tunes into a show and listens within 24 hours of it dropping, then you give yourself a few weeks to move. If, on the other hand, a show doesn't really taper off until like a month, then you might need to give yourself a couple of months of transition time. In the transition time, what you want to do is tell people that things are changing. Give people advanced notice. You'll want to craft some transitional artwork that incorporates the old show's look and the new show's look at the same time. So if if there's a picture of just your face for the old show and there's a brand new logo for the new show, maybe in the transitional artwork there's a picture of your face and the logo together. Your messaging has to be the same as well, letting people know on the air, hey, this is going to be changing in however long. When you next open your podcast, listener, you're going to start to see some of the changes. It's still the same show. It's still the same person. It's still me. But don't be surprised if set an arbitrary date on July 1, the name has changed in your podcast listener. And please keep tuning in. From a technical perspective, as long as the URL doesn't change, you're not going to break anything infrastructure-wise. You do want to update the description and the feed details. And again, we want to be transitional here. If the show is, Almost Timely Podcast with Christopher Penn, or in this case, let's say it's, the Christopher Penn Show becomes the Almost Timely Podcast. The transitional name should be Almost Timely Podcast with Christopher Penn, or Almost Timely Podcast, the show formerly known as the Christopher Penn Show, right? So that A, people aren't surprised. B, the name is, people start to get familiar with the name in their podcatcher of choice. And C, you want to take advantage of those very primitive SEO metrics, right? Those SEO tools that are in podcasting, very primitive keyword searches. If someone is searching for the Christopher Penn Show, I want to have that for sure in the description of my podcast forever, right? Maybe at the end of my description, it'll say, formerly known as the Christopher Penn Show. But in the title of the show and the episodes, I will probably want to have that transition period. The Almost Timely Podcast, the artist formerly known as Christopher Penn, whatever, is in the description so that people searching for it catch it. Now, for a little while, that's going to be ugly. You're going to have some really long titles. But you'll be giving people the chance to make the transition, to mentally make the transition. I might, depending on how large your listener base is, and again, how frequently or infrequently you record, you might even start with flipping the names around. So if your show is the Christopher Penn Show and the new show is the Almost Timely Podcast, the Christopher Penn Show soon to become the Almost Timely Podcast, and then do 4 or 5 episodes like that, and then flip it around, the Almost Timely Podcast, formerly known as the Christopher Penn Show, and then 4 or 5 episodes of that, and then at the end you have the Almost Timely Podcast. But in the description of each episode and in the master feed description, you'll have the show formerly known as The Christopher Penn Show. That way, you are continuing to attract any searches for people who are looking for the old show while you're capturing the new show. One other thing that's really important with podcasts is there are tons of podcast directories and things like that have linked to shows. There are syndicators and aggregators, more so with podcasts and blogs than with like social media. By the way, make sure you update all your social properties, usual stuff for any kind of a brand change. You need to go into the SEO tool of your choice and look for all of the inbound links to the old show, including individual episodes. And then if you have the time, go and hunt down those links and ask people to change the title and the description of those links, the wording, the anchor text on those links. If you don't have a ton of time, I would take that same data extract from the SEO tool of your choice, sort it in descending order by URL rank or whatever your tool's equivalent is, and at least take care of the top 10%, right? So that you're getting the most equity redirected in terms of branding and name and anchor text changes possible to help boost the new show, to help to get the new show up and running. The messaging for that could actually be very similar. So if somebody's linking to episode 14 of the Christopher Penn Show, I would reach out to them and say, hey, I just want to let you know, thanks so much for linking to me. I'm changing my show's name. Would you consider changing the link text to episode 14 of the Almost Timely podcast, formerly known as the Christopher Penn Show? So that, again, I'm capturing both of those things. I want to make sure that I'm getting as much of the link redirects, the anchor text changes as possible to boost helping people find the new name of the show. Finally, like all things in podcasting, make sure that you're doing your outreach, your rounds, your promos. It's so funny. People have forgotten how to do promos. It used to be the thing to do in podcasting back in 06, 07, 08, and people just don't do it anymore. And it's a shame because it's a good way to get in front of another audience easily as long as the audience is a peer of yours and non-competitive. So give that some thought as well. There are tons and tons of podcasts, and nobody remembers that. We should write about that at some point. Just lost podcasting culture. So that's it. It's treat it like a brand change, treat it like a brand move, do all the things, give people transition time, try not to break the technical aspects, and you should be fine. Keep the old name around in titles, in descriptions especially, so that you can attract searches for them and let the directories know where they are. If you have follow-up questions, leave them in the comments box below. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and the newsletter. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Want help solving your company's data, analytics, and digital marketing problems? Visit trustinsights.ai today and let us know how we can help you.